What's going on, guys? Happy Valentine's Day. Good COVID Valentine's Day to you. um, so today it's Valentine's Day, so a lot of people I know I've been seeing or talking about like My Bloody Valentine. I was going to do one like the original or the remake of that, but a lot of people are doing that. So I'm going to talk about one a lot of people talked about a couple years ago, but I never put my 2 cents in yet. So today we're going to be talking about Valentine. This is a 2001 slasher thriller. I call it that because there's not really any scares in this, and it's more like a mystery thriller than a horror slasher film. So, but you can call it either which way. It definitely, and you can tell it's from the early 2000s by the cover of all the people just standing there looking like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Anyways, Valentine is from Warner Brothers Pictures, released February 2nd, 2001. And it has quite a decent cast in it, actually. It has David Boreanaz, Denise Richards, Marley Shelton, and Katherine Heigl. So, yeah, and I gotta say, majority of the girls in this are babes in this movie. They look so fine. And, most of their acting is pretty good, too, for the main cast, anyways. It was produced by Dylan Sellers, who produced a lot of these type of movies back in the early 2000s. And it was written by Donna Powers and Wayne Powers, who's also wrote a lot of these type of films in the early 2000s. It was also co-written by Gretchen Joberg, I think you pronounce her last name, and Aaron Harberts. And it was directed by Jamie Blanks, who is most well known for directing like Urban Legend and Storm Warning, but he's also done some other cool like horror thriller type deal films as well, like Needle and Not Quite Hollywood. So yeah, and this had a box office earnings of around $37 million. So it's like it was a moderate success, but it wasn't like a huge success like I'm pretty sure the studio was hoping for. Also, this one's Scream and that were like sort of like dying out. Like Scream 3, I think, came out around this time too, and it didn't do well either. So slashers, the late 90s, early 2000s, this is probably like the dying time, right before the torture stuff like Saw and all that were going to come out. So yeah, it was an interesting time for horror when this came out. Valentine basically is the story. Well, it starts off with this nerdy guy and kid, and he asks like 5 or 6 girls out to dance, and they all reject them. And then he meets this one girl, Dorothy, and they kind of like hang out, and they're both like the awkward ones. They're kissing behind the bleachers, and then she makes up a lie telling the bullies that he is like touching her and harassing her and stuff, and they beat him up and that. And then basically 20 years later, he decides to go on apparently decides to go on a revenge, or has a revenge plot, and it's like a whodunit mystery, sort of like Clue almost, with the killer killing off people that either the girls know or the girls themselves. And yeah, it's basically they're trying to figure out who the killer is and who is doing it. Is it the kid? I can't remember the guy's name right now. From when they were kids, or is it someone else doing it? And they're not sure, and they can't put their finger on it. And it's pretty interesting. It was amusing. There's a lot of cool creative kills in this film. There are some pretty cool like gore effects in it and stuff like that, but they are pretty spaced out in between. I do like the fact that the killer had a Cupid mask. It's definitely something different. It's not like it's a little creepy in some scenes, but for the most part, it's pretty cheesy. It's like the Purge mask with like where you sort of see the person's face and sort of clear. It's sort of like that, but yeah. But it still had a unique look, definitely something different, which is kind of good and refreshing, especially in the early 2000s when they're about to pump out all these garbage remakes and stuff. And the setting how it takes place on Valentine's Day, and the revenge plot happens. Then it's a pretty good like scenario for a story, I thought. It's just the character. So like the main girls and stuff like that, their characters were amusing and stuff, and a couple of the love interests were okay, but most of the supporting cast acting is horrible in this. Like it is wooden beyond belief, man. It is pretty bad. Yeah, but for the most part, uh, and also some of the supporting characters are super annoying, and you just want them to die. But half of them don't. So they're half of them don't even have a purpose in the film. They're just there for like pad run time, basically, which is a big flaw I think from this film. Where they instead of doing that, they could have built more tension between the main characters, or they could at least build more tension between the villain and the main characters than the killer just showing up. Like the ending near the end when one of the annoying ex-girlfriends runs to the house and finds all the dead bodies basically and stuff was pretty neat and stuff, and you kind of feel empathy for her and stuff like that. But besides her side character, all the other ones are just annoying. um, but yeah, the four lead chicks that are part of this were pretty decent and stuff. This is all before they got like a huge break and stuff too in film and TV, so they were just still starting out. So yeah, it was an interesting throwback to the early 2000s and stuff. But overall, the film is pretty slow, and overall, it gets pretty boring for some of it. And besides the unique look of the killer and some decent kills and a pretty decent main cast, but with like little to do, and yeah, there wasn't very much there to grasp. It like a lot of the old 80 like independent slasher films that everyone reps on has more substance than some of this film does. So yeah, but it is still way better than the god awful Prom Night remake and like the absolutely terrible April Fool's Day remake and stuff that sort of play in with this sort of same sort of tone. This is probably like one of the better ones, but still, it's still not a great movie. But overall, I thought it was enjoyable and it was good. It's a good Valentine's Day watch. And it's not super scary or anything like that. So if you want a good thrilling little date movie for Valentine's Day, throw this one on. It's pretty good for that. Yeah, overall, I'll give this one probably a 3 out of 5. Just be like pretty much close to the middle. But yeah, it's a unique slasher from the early 2000s when slashers were pretty much almost dead. So yeah, Valentine is a fun, decent little watch. So if you want to check it out, there's a trailer down below if you never heard of it or if you forgot about it. So check that out. Sometimes it doesn't do it justice, and it's definitely early 2000ish. You can definitely tell, but it does have a good like little polished feel to it too. So yeah, check it out if you haven't seen it. Also, check out my Instagram that's linked down below, because if you want to stay in the loop, that's where I post everything. So, yeah, I always post clips of films I'm going to review in the future on my story, and I usually have the title and hashtag somewhere in the video clip, small, so you can either find it or just guess what I'm going to review. Or if you're just curious to see what's coming up, it'll be on my story. So yeah, make sure you follow me there. Also, I do put the subgenre of film in there too, just because it's something you're not interested in. I don't have to deal with people complaining. So yeah, make sure you follow me on Instagram to stay in the loop. Make sure you comment your opinions of this film down below if you've seen it. I'd love to hear what you guys thought of it. Did you agree with me or disagree? Let me know. Also, if you have any films at all, it doesn't matter if it's slashers, horror, sci-fi, anything, let me know. If you have any films that you want to hear my opinions on, comment those down below as well. I'll try my hardest to get to them as soon as I can, and if I can find them. So yeah, just leave those suggestions down below too. Make sure you like this video, share it so more people are aware of it, and make sure you subscribe, because you never know what I'm going to talk about next. So I know I've been slacking on the Leprechaun series. I said I was going to do it from start to finish, and I never did. So, but there is actually 2 other films that are completely different I'm going to be talking about first before I get back to that series. So yeah, make sure you subscribe to hear more about stuff that you probably never heard of, and I guess I'll talk to you soon in the next review. All right, cheers.